Hey there, welcome to Prog Monster. It's a lovely afternoon today, and my name is Murph, and I'm the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and other forms of rock and the rock genre. Anyways, today we're here to do a look back to a classic rock album, probably an album that when it came out, I was too young to appreciate and didn't know that it existed. However, I did buy an album by this group in the 80s, and from that I went back and I bought this album, which had a huge impact on me. This became my favorite album at the time, and was my favorite album for a few years, and it's moved down the list a bit over time, not because of its being bad, it's just a lot of other albums have come on. Anyways, this album I think is a classic, a mastercraft album, considered early on to be the seminal album of this group, their fourth studio release. It's since, of course, been on the internet quite a bit, and some of the other albums have come up and kind of challenged it for the best album by the group. But you cannot doubt or deny the fact that this album is a great album. And of course, we're talking about the fourth studio album of this group, Yes, and this album is Fragile. Okay, fantastic album. Basically, it's two groups of songs on this. There's 4 long track instrumentals and vocal music that are played by the entire group, and then there's 5 individual instrumentals by each member of the band or a vocal member. So anyways, the album was released on January the 4th, 1972. The artwork on this album is done by Roger Dean, of course. I think it was the first album that Roger Dean did artwork for them on. In fact, I'm sure of that. Just take the album out so you can see it. This is the inside picture of it. I think I showed this. Maybe I haven't showed it, but anyways, there's the band, each member, and a couple pictures on the outside. It also has the lyrics and the other band information on the back, and that's the front and back of the album there. So this is a fantastic album. I can't say enough good stuff about it. I purchased it not too long ago as well. I did have it in vinyl, and I wore that album out, and I think I may have had it in CD as well, but I don't know what happened to it. Anyways, I have it now. I got it recently. Other things about the album, other than the artwork, the album was produced by Yes and Eddie Oxford. The length is about 41 minutes or so, a little bit longer maybe. At Advision Studios in London is where it was recorded, and the label is Atlantic Records. Okay, so appearing on here, the members of Yes, playing all the instrumentation and doing all the vocals. John Anderson is the main vocalist, the lead vocalist, and the front man for the band. Bill Bruford plays drums and percussion. Steve Howe, electric and acoustic guitars, and does backing vocals as well. Chris Squire does bass guitar and backing vocals as well. Rick Wakeman, he plays organ, piano, or grand piano if you prefer, electric piano, harpsichord, mellotron, and some synthesizers on this. And this was my first encounter with, well, I can't say it was my first encounter with the keyboards. I did have Pieces of 8, and I also had, what was the other album I had? Oh, Drama, which was the first Yes album I had. So there was some very good keyboards on both of those albums. I really noticed the difference between that and non-keyboard albums right away. But this guy, when I heard this just blew my mind. I never heard a keyboardist like this before. And it's not saying that those guys are not good keyboardists, they are, but I think he's in a class by himself, really. Maybe there might be 1 or 2 other keyboardists that really measure up to his level, and he's full value on this album, coming over from A&M Records to join Yes, and this is his first album he did with Yes. So anyways, about the album itself, really good musicianship on this album, really well crafted songs. The instrumentation is top shelf. In fact, I can't think of a single band that has the kind of talent or instrumentation that these guys have. There are a couple that are close, but for a four-piece band and a vocalist, not very many are close to this. It has 4 tracks on it that are everybody plays on, and then there's also again 5 tracks that are individual highlights that each individual member did of his own instrument. Okay, so we'll talk first about the 5 tracks, just because they should take a little bit of time, not much. The first one is Cans and Brahms, which appears, I think, the second song on the album. It's a classical bit by Rick Wakeman. He plays organ, harpsichord, and a little bit of mellotron on this song. It's a well-crafted kind of classical bit, but it also shows a little bit of rockiness to it as well, if that's even a word. I don't think it is, but it's what I'm going to use for it. The next track is a We Have Heaven, which is a vocal harmony and bits and pieces put together, mostly by John Anderson. I think he might have done all the vocals here. I don't remember reading anything about any of the others doing any on this. He just continuously adds little parts as the song goes along. I really like this part a lot. It's a song that I like hearing, you know. The next part is right at the end of side 1. It's called a 5% for Nothing, which is just a little bit of an interesting drum bit that Bill Bruford puts together. The next one is The Fish, which is probably, I think this or Steve Howe's bit are the 2 most famous bits on the album. The bass here is really good. Sounds like a fish going through water, basically, but he has all kinds of different sounds and textures to it. It gives that kind of fish-like feeling anyways. The last bit is called Mood for a Day, which is a classical piece that Steve Howe wrote and put together for the album. It's a fantastic acoustic bit. It's the first song I ever learned on guitar, and a hard one to learn too, because there's a lot of slams and pulls on it. So, you know, I really like this quite a bit. I also like the clap from the Yes album, but this one, I think, overall, I probably have more sentimentality towards it, just because it was the first bit that I learned, and it's flawless. In the other part that I want to say, there's a part in We Have Heaven which leads into South Side of the Sky, which is a perfect transition to that song. Okay, so the main songs on the album, there's four of them. The first one, of course, is the classic, considered one of Yes's best songs. Certainly has a lot of radio airplay. Some people would say too much. It's overplayed a lot. But when I first heard it, it instantly became my favorite song, which made this instantly my favorite album. I was younger then, probably not even 20. I might have been 17 or 18 at the time. I just loved it. The instrumentation is off the scale here. The way they put this song together is just classic Yes. You know, there's a lot of beefy beefy bass on this. It was my first encounter with a bass player that really dominated the sound of a group. I mean, yes, I had some experience with Geddy Lee, and he's a fantastic bass player as well. But I don't think he's as loud or beefy as Chris Squire. They're both different. They both have really good parts about them that I like. But I mean, this really is just a really strong bass lines in this particular song, as it is in the other 3 as well. What else? I'm just going to refer to my notes a bit. John Anderson's vocals, of course, are fantastic here, as it is on the other 3 tracks as well. The keyboards are great and dominant on this song. Drums are very sophisticated, a little bit more in the background than the other 2, bass and the guitar and the keyboards, but still pretty predominant. And it's, like I said, it's a great mix. They mix up the sound very well, and the solos as well. Like, all the solos just kind of intertwine with each other. There's a heavy classical part right at the beginning of the song, in the middle, and between just before the really heavy part of the song, and then right at the end to end the song. All good pieces. Lots of hooks and lots of riffs and lots of solos here, especially from the keyboardist and the guitar player, with the bass and the drums like filling in heavily in the background, although Chris Squire never in the background anywhere. Anyways, the next song, Southside of the Sky, which has a lead in from We Are Heaven, which is the small bit done by John Anderson. Just a fantastic song. Some people think it's the best song on the album. It's not my, some days I think it is, and some days I don't think it is. It's between Roundabout and Southside of the Sky, but Southside of the Sky is more of a underappreciated song, maybe a deep cut, so it has a little more appeal because it's not played as much on the radio. You don't hear it as much, but still just a great song. It starts out with that wind and nature start in the beginning of the song, and then there's a heavy bass and guitar riff that launch into the song. The vocals, a lot of harmonizing vocals on this song, as there was in Roundabout as well. Very tasteful guitar solos throughout this song. Steve Howe knows how to put together those guitar solos, they fit right into the music. They're not music's playing, stop, do the guitar solo, go back to the music. There's none of that here. They just fit perfectly into the song as it goes. And he fills in all those kind of gaps things in the areas when other instruments are going. The synthesizer in the back fills are really good, and of course there's a piano interlude in the song, done by Rick Wakeman, that is very tastefully done. I really like it. Pretty heavy song, not overly heavy though. It's got its mellow parts as well. Great tune though. Okay, the other song on the album, on the flip side, when it was an album instead of a CD, the flip side that started out with Long Distance Runaround, probably one of the shorter, it's the shortest combined track on the album. Again, very, very heavy and beefy bass right at the beginning, dominating. Drums and keyboards are good fillers on this particular song. And Steve Howe again does some tasteful guitar bits. John Anderson's voice is dominating on this song, I think. And the keyboards, of course, become forefront as the song goes along. And of course, this the end of this song kind of sets up the Fish, which is the bass track done by Chris Squire. Okay, the last song on this album, I think, is fairly well known. They've played this a lot in concert. A lot of people like this and cite this as one of their favorite songs. Again, fantastic. Starts out with very heavy bass guitar start. The bass is very pronounced here. Chris Squire's all over this album, really beefy, heavy bass, and really the instrumentation of his bass is just fantastic here. The synth fills on the background are good. They keep the song together, I think. Then Steve Howe has a few melodic guitar riffs, and he speeds up and slows down in different parts of the song. And of course, this is one of the better lyrical songs, although they're all pretty good lyrical songs. John Anderson had this way of writing songs. Some people didn't really know what he was trying to say, and I'm sure sometimes he didn't know what he was trying to say, but they just feel kind of catchy, you know. The piano and guitar interludes between the heavy sets are very good. It breaks up the monotony of it just having it all heavy or just all mellow. The song is heavy, followed by an interlude, heavy, followed by an interlude, heavy, followed by an interlude. Just really tastefully done. And they all, like I said, they alternate back and forth. So there you have it. That's one of the great albums that I've had the pleasure of owning. I can't say enough about it. It's in my top 3, probably my top 3 albums. Definitely was my favorite album for a while, and it's been replaced over time just because other albums have come up that I liked almost as much or more than. But for its time period, 1972, one of the best albums. So I'm going to be doing a look back today again of another group's fourth studio album, which we'll get to when I get to that one. And I kind of like to put these two albums together, so this is the first of two, I guess you might want to call it. So look forward to that part. I hope you liked this video. I hope you like what I had to say about Yes, one of my favorite bands. And if you do and you want to hear more of this kind of content, please subscribe. So from Murph at Prog Monster, you have a great day, and we will see you later. Bye.